So at Pleasant Garden, we, about a couple of years ago, went from using stage monitors to in-ear monitors. We did that for a number of reasons, which we'll talk about in a minute, but it's really been a step forward for us musically, which has helped us to serve our congregation better. Why did we switch to in-ear monitors? Well, obviously the most important thing was that with the use of in-ear monitors, we now have a better sound in our worship center, in our sanctuary. When we were using the stage monitors, we would have to turn the monitors so loud to hear what we needed to hear over the instruments, that most of what the congregation was actually hearing was the sound being piped through those small stage monitors and bouncing off the back wall, and then reaching them after bouncing off of that back wall. That would be mixed with several amplifiers for the instruments, for the guitars on the stage, and what resulted was really kind of a muddy sound. It was hard to really clearly understand the words, and you just didn't have the sound quality that you could. Since one of our main goals as a worship ministry is to communicate the truths in these songs through the lyrics, it was important to us to have those be as comprehensible as possible. So that was one of the main reasons that we switched. We now have a quieter stage. The decibel levels are not nearly what they are with speakers on stage, obviously. And so that's just a safer environment. It's a more pleasant environment. It's easier to work in choir with that because they're not struggling to be heard over all the instruments. And it just leads to an all-around better experience when you're on the stage as part of the worship ministry. And then finally, the use of in-ears allows us to do certain things that lead to a better performance. So we now play every song to a click track, a metronome, which keeps us all in line with the right tempo. There's no more rushing away with a song because we've gotten too fast, or having a song drag and be uninteresting because we started at too slow a tempo. We also have a helper now that we have kind of come to call Gertrude. So if you have in-ear monitors in, you're going to hear something like this.
1, 2, intro, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So you hear the click track, you hear that female voice, that's who we call Gertrude, telling you when to go to the verse, when to go to the chorus, and so there's less confusion as you have Gertrude in your ear and that click track kind of keeping everything on track, so to speak, with the song. So you don't have the rough transitions that you might if you forget, well, am I supposed to go to the bridge here? Am I supposed to go to the chorus? Everybody in the band kind of gets that reminder as we go. And so that helps us as a band be more tight in our performances and more effective and less distracting to those that we're trying to communicate truth to. So those are really the three main reasons why we switched to in-ear monitors. As I said, there is a learning curve with these. There is some, if you've never played with these before or if you haven't gotten used to them yet, it can be kind of frustrating and challenging. And there's really three reasons why you won't like the in-ears at first. But I promise if you persevere through these challenges and get used to them, you'll really appreciate having them and you'll miss it when you don't have them. But the first kind of disadvantage initially to in-ears is that if you aren't used to playing with a click or singing with a click track, that takes some training, it takes some getting used to. As a bass player, I always thought that I was very good in time until I started comparing myself to a click track. But it has really caused me to improve as a musician as I've gotten used to playing with that and practicing with that through the couple of years here. And you will get there, but it really does take a lot more focus initially because you're not used to that. It also takes some getting used to have Gertrude talking to you, to have a voice in your ear as you're playing and singing these songs. It's hard to kind of be able to focus on what you're doing when you have that distraction. But you do get used to that as you stick with it. And again, it's a really helpful tool to have, and you'll miss it when she's not there kind of telling you where to go in the song. Secondly is that you have to kind of understand that what you're going to hear in your in-ear monitors is not at all what the congregation is going to hear. It's not going to be as good. It's not going to sound as good. You're going to think it sounds terrible a lot of times. because your balance is not going to be what is being communicated out there. It's a tool for you, and since you can't really hear what's going on out there, it does take some trust in your tech team, in your sound crew, to know that they are doing their job and they are making you sound good, despite the fact that you're not used to this type of sound that you're hearing in your inner monitor. So just keep on going with that. One of the best example of that is in a vocalist. If you've ever sang with your ears stopped up, with your fingers in your ears, then you know that your voice sounds really strange to you when you do that. And that's kind of what you're going to have in an in-ear monitor. Your voice is not going to sound as good in your ears as it does out in the congregation. But just persevere through that. You'll get used to it, and you'll kind of understand that and have less fear and trepidation when you're dealing with that. Finally, one of the things that's hard to get used to is that you cannot hear the audience when you've got your in-ears in. And for worship teams that are used to being able to hear the congregation singing along with them, feeding off of that type of energy, that takes some getting used to as well. We're hoping maybe to improve on that in the future. There's ways to mitigate that, but you just have to kind of understand. Look, I'm sacrificing in this ministry so that I can do the best job that I can, and the sacrifice is that I don't get as much pleasure or as much benefit coming back to me. And that's what ministry is all about. Again, we're going to try to improve that as we go forward. But that's another thing that you'll dislike at first with these in-ears. But keep working, keep trying to get used to it, and eventually that'll all seem normal to you. All right, how do we use our in-ear monitors? The first thing is that you need to resist the urge to just use one. You're going to see people want to just use one so that they can have the best of both worlds, they think, have the click track, and also have that interaction with the congregation and be able to hear what they sound like a little bit. But everything that you read on this topic will tell you that is dangerous to your hearing to just use one. You really need both of them, because otherwise you're going to turn that one up so far and not realize that it's damaging your hearing when it is, because it's the only way that you'll be able to hear it. If you adjust your volume with both of your in-ears in, and then later there's a problem or something, you have to take one out, I think you're safer there, but never adjust your volume using just one. And I would really urge you to get used to using two, stick with it, and it'll be better for you in the long run and safer for you in the long run, and that's important to us. In-ears are made to seal in your ear so that it blocks out all of the noise around you, so that all that you're hearing is what's coming out of that in-ear phone. So when you take an in-ear headphone, you probably have to do more than just kind of lightly put it in your ear, because it is supposed to make a seal in your ear canal that's going to block out the extraneous noise. And that's really the difference between liking what you're hearing out of here and really thinking that what you're hearing out of here is not good, is whether that seal is good or not. So when you're putting these in, you can just kind of straighten out the wire here as you get started. If you have the foam tips here, you just kind of squeeze those together, give them a tighter tip there at the end, and then stick those into your ear. When you do that, you can go ahead and put that in. If you need to, you can lift up your ear, open your mouth slightly to kind of get that inserted in there correctly. And then once you do, then you can wrap this cord around your ear and keep them there. But the idea is to have a seal there where everything around you is blocked out. As a bass player especially, I can tell a big difference. Sometimes I'll think I have it in there good, but if I really have it in there good, I can really hear the bass guitar well. Especially the low frequencies get lost if there's any kind of extraneous sound that's still able to be heard there. So really make sure that that's tight. You'll have to experiment with that a little bit to really get that in there. But they're meant to form that seal. You can experiment with different tip sizes. Usually if you get a set of in-ear monitors, they will come with various tips, like a small, medium, and large. You can buy tips separately, which a lot of people do. I do that as well. If I find a type of tip that I like, they come in various different forms. then I go ahead and use those. So there's a lot of experimenting you can do to find what you like best. But as you play with them, as you experiment, just kind of make sure that you get that seal good in your ear. I would really suggest that you buy your own set of in-ear monitors. I don't know if you're like me, but the thought of putting something in my ear that's been in somebody else's ear is not something that I really care to do. And you don't have to break the bank to buy a good set of in-ear monitors, in-ear headphones. There's several sets out there that are between $30 and $50 that you can look at. I started out with the MEE Audio MEE Audio M6 Pro. You can get this on Amazon from anywhere between $35 and $45. Usually it's right around $40. You can sometimes get them on sale. They're a good starter set of in-ear monitors. They work well. I really enjoyed those. I now use a ZS10 from KZ ZS10 or ZS10 Pro. And again, that's in pretty much the same price range there, between $35 and $45 depending on where you get it. But you can get those on Amazon as well. Obviously, if money's no object and you want to get a set of custom ears molded to your particular ear, knock yourself out. That's going to run you several $100s. But there's a lot of things out there. You can do your own research on what you like or ask around. But both of those sets have worked well for me. And it's good to have your own set so that you can work with it, can experiment with it, change tips, and all of those things. So I hope that this video is helpful to you in kind of taking away the mystery of these in-ear monitors. Believe me when I say, if you stick with it for several months and you start getting used to it, you're really going to enjoy your time in the worship ministry more using these than without them. And so we thank you for your interest in our worship ministry, for your service with us, and we look forward to seeing you next time.